James is not going to be able to make it tonight.
Right. He's the only one that I've heard from.
Okay.
Yeah, same.
Cool.
Let's see, Mike.
Yeah, wait for a few more minutes in case we can get one more person for a quorum.
So, let me see if I can pull up that link.
Oh yeah, doing that.
So, hey,
Hey.
Mike.
Yay!
Oh, how exciting.
Too many cookies, too.
I'll talk to you about that.
Yeah.
Mission is to get you guys to help me do this.
Okay. That happened at our house too, where I was like, I have an overabundance of desserts on the counter, and there's
4 weeks ago now.
boy or girl.
Oh boy.
Aww, good.
Awesome.
I was sleeping on you guys.
Yeah.
You get any sleep?
Yeah,
What?
Can you just hit return? Yay, look at that technology.
It's magic.
Anybody want one over here?
Cookie?
I'm okay. Thank you.
Cookie, anybody?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you so much.
Snickerdoodles.
All right.
So,
I will.
and Essie, I have
Thank you so much.
Snickerdoodles.
your new one.
Is that my little tag out of our previous group?
Yeah.
All right, go ahead and call a meeting to order.
Crunch, crunch. Let the notes show. Crunch, crunch. Okay.
And that's all
Roll call.
started and ready?
Mm-hmm. All right, roll call.
Roll call, yes.
So I will take care of that. So Becky?
Here.
Eileen?
Here.
Jim? Essie?
Here?
Lisa? John? Mike?
Here. All right.
Caitlin?
Sorry.
Here.
All right, we're good to go.
I thought that sounded like a short list.
I just had to flip it over.
Gotcha. All right, does anyone have any suggested adjustments to the agenda? You can scroll through slowly. Oh, hey. All right, so I'm not hearing any suggestions for changes, so we'll approve the agenda. Do we have to vote on that? I always forget if we have to.
Yes, you do.
Okay, so motion to accept the agenda as currently written.
Second.
Excellent. All in favor? Cool. Public comment? Yeah.
So we won't, yeah, we do have a guest, and so I'll
Yeah.
introduce. This is Steve. And Steve is our newest applicant for ACES. So he will be interviewing with the town board on Monday, and he is here tonight to kind of see how ACES works. So I don't know if you wanted to say anything. You don't have to.
No, thanks for letting me come, and, you know, it sounds like a very interesting committee, and I hope to be involved.
Excellent. Well, thanks again for coming. We don't normally have cookies for every meeting, so that's,
Oh, that's going to be a bummer.
I know. Well, you could change that.
Put that in your application.
Exactly.
Yeah.
No, but thanks for coming.
Should have banned my application.
Yeah, won't bring cookies. Okay, so we can move on to new business and updates. Do you want to provide general update on the Green Business Program, Caitlin, if is anything?
No updates at this time. I will reach out to Matt Hannon at PACE to get updates on who had applied for 2019 and get dates for 2020 program release.
Thanks. Mike, do you have any updates you want to share on the scorecard? I'm not sure if there's anything new.
Sure. Okay. So I emailed everyone saying that I attached it, but without attaching it. I just reattached it and sent it again. I don't think we need to go over it now, but you can take a look at it. The only change from last time is that we added the, if you recall, last time we discussed the bullet points for actions to take in each of the categories to improve sustainability. I've added those now. Some categories had way too much to fit, so I had to make some judgment calls about what to include. So it's done. It can continue to be updated over time. I've asked the county, Leah at the county, excuse me, for that EV data that we were looking for. But otherwise, I said that the next step would be that we would share it with the town board members at when we have the designated committee update time at a future town board meeting. So I think that just things for us to discuss is just to, one, if there's any other questions on the content and substance of it, we can discuss that now. If not, if we feel good about sharing it immediately with the town board members, then just to determine, to confirm that the town board agendas are amended now so that there's a standing block of time for committees. Okay, I see some nods.
Yes, that is true.
So that basically we could discuss this at our convenience at any town meeting, basically. Is that accurate?
Yes, yep, that time is on that agenda. You just need to let me know in advance, and then we'll plug you in to that space.
Did you put the PRR in it? In my grant?
There is PRR. Here's my request, actually, would be for you to take a look at it and confirm that I've got the right
I'll do this then.
information in there. And
Send it to me and then I'll look at it tonight.
yeah, I've just resent it in the last 10 minutes to the ACES email list.
Today?
Yeah.
Okay, great. Thanks.
So if you take a look and tell me if I've characterized everything accurately on that metric. Yeah, and happy to take any other additional feedback. And my proposal is, send me feedback by email if you see something. But otherwise, I think based on the last discussion, we're ready to talk to the board, and we should just plan to get in at the next available date, and we should confirm when those opportunities are.
So the next one's Monday.
So that
Well, maybe-
packet's already gone out, so we
Yeah,
won't
so
be able
maybe
to.
the next
Okay.
one
Yep.
following that.
January 27th.
Great. Okay. Yeah, so I think that's a good time.
Does
I'm happy to-
that date work for you?
It
Should
works
I
for
go
me
ahead?
personally, so I'm happy to attend.
Okay.
And I just give this, it's just an informational update, really. So I'd be happy to do that. Yeah.
Looks like I'm available then too, so I expect
Yeah.
you can take the lead on presenting
Yeah,
it,
come on-
but
Come on and join me.
yeah.
And then for the board packet itself, I had expected we'd want to include a final version. And so just to facilitate that, since there's one or two opportunities, people will have to just check and validate and give me any more feedback. I can take that, and then Karen, what would be my deadline to get you the final version?
Yep, so because I'll have to write a cover memo on it as well, and so.
Okay.
If there's any way you can get it to me on Friday, or excuse me, let's see, the 17th, Friday the 17th. If not, The latest would be noon on Monday, the 20th.
Okay, I'll plan.
Because I have to have it all submitted on Tuesday, the 21st by noon.
Okay, I'll plan to share it with you by Friday the 17th, which means that
Perfect.
if others have feedback from me, then, by Wednesday or so, would allow me to do that. That's all I have on this topic on the agenda.
Well, thank you.
Thanks.
All right, so moving on to just a general discussion of 2020 programs and events. I think, did you request this? Oh, we got a request from someone.
Yes, so getting an update from Karen about what we need to do to make sure that the WaterWise seminar, Energy Smart event, and Garden in a Box are happening for 2020. I know WaterWise and Garden in a Box, town staff coordinates with Resource Central.
Yep. Yep, and that is all set and ready to go. I actually have some options for you tonight for the WaterWise seminar. We actually had it put into our town contract with WaterWise at the end of 2019, so it's already in there and ready to go. They sent me dates on Monday, so we can look at Monday, April 6th, Tuesday, April 7th, or Wednesday, April 8th. It'll be held at the sports stable and from 6 to 8 p.m. in the community room at the sports stable. So we can kind of talk through those. I can also send you those dates for you guys, email them if you want to look at your schedules and see what works, because it would be great to have a committee representation at that seminar.
Do we have a choice of topics this year?
We do, and she does not have those to me yet, but she did send me dates.
Yeah.
So I can email the dates and the topics, and if you then wanted to vote via email on what you wanted that to be, we could do it that way.
Yeah.
That's a good approach.
Yes, let's do that.
Cool,
Okay.
thanks.
Okay,
And
and the Garden in a Box is the same thing that's under Resource Central as well, so that's in the same contract, set, ready to go, 50 boxes again this year. Our last number at the end of last year's program, I think I probably updated you at one time, but we did sell 31 of the 50. Which is 62% of our goal, so they felt like that's a definite increase from years before. We've only sold like 11 or 12, so we did pretty good.
When do those usually become available?
So that is, so I have that here, I believe.
it's normally like April,
That's
March,
what I
or
was thinking.
April.
Yeah.
I think we got
Yeah,
our
so
box in
it looks
Just
like.
be great to make sure we're promoting it.
Yeah,
shortly for
the catalogs will go out at the end of January, so we'll have those
Okay.
to start distributing at the end of January. And then the purchasing, I believe, happens in March,
Okay,
starts in March, yep.
cool.
And for Energy Smart event, that's not one we've done before, but we had talked about it. I don't know if we have any information on what that would be.
I think the original idea was just to bring together a bunch of different local resources from Energy Smart, but also incorporating some resources from the town and possibly reaching out to Excel to see if they would like to, offer information on the rebates and other things that they have, and just sort of have a big event. But I don't think we've ever figured out the details more beyond that.
And was that a standalone event that you were interested in doing?
I believe that was the idea.
Okay, we do have Arbor Day. And that could be, you could have your own booth at Arbor Day with different events, activities, information surrounding all of that, if you're interested. It's just an option.
Maybe an easier way to go.
It's, it's already an event where we're gathering people, so it may be a good opportunity for the first time around, maybe.
Yeah.
But it's
that sounds
completely
good.
up to you.
And then would we be the ones to reach out to Energy Smart about doing something like that, or would the town? Okay.
Yeah, anything that you guys are interested in, I can book dates and reserve things, but any sort of planning or reaching out, that would be the committee.
Okay.
Does somebody want to take lead on reaching out to Energy Smart?
On what?
On reaching out to Energy Smart about that?
Being at Arbor Day.
Yeah. I don't know if anybody knows.
I can't, I don't really know much about
Okay.
it, but
Okay.
Okay.
I can see what I can find out.
I'd be happy to reach out to Excel as well about if that sounds like something we want to do, if they want to have a tent for Arbor Day.
Okay.
And Arbor Day was just decided today, so you
Oh,
guys are the first to know. It's April 25th at
Okay.
Wildflower Park from 10 to noon.
Excellent.
What was the date again? Sorry.
April 25th.
Okay.
It's a Saturday.
Excellent. All right, any other questions, comments about the events for 2020, or those particular ones at least? Okay. So let's move on to our discussion items. I thought we'd just start off with finalizing the 2020 work plan, and this has been something we've talked about for a while, so would it be helpful to go through the whole thing again with everyone, or do we just want to kind of glance through it and then take a vote on whether to finalize it?
Yeah, I'd
Okay.
be happy to scroll through. One thing, we discussed some updates to the work plan at our December dinner meeting. So I incorporated all of those into the current version. One thing that I thought of after the fact was we had discussed the zero waste grant. That is the new Front Range zero waste grant through the state. And applications for that should open in Q3. So I wanted to add that to our Q3 items to apply
Excellent.
for zero waste grant. If that's okay.
Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So,
Just another thought that spurred. Is there anything on here about the Boulder County Sustainability Grant? Is there anything on our work plan?
I think there, so in so the second quarter, we have grant-related budgetary requests, because I think that was where the matching, that one's the matching grant, right?
Yeah, it's a matching grant, so it requires some contribution from the
Yeah.
town. Yeah. Well, I'd encourage us to put something on there early about planning for it, just to remind us, because in the past, we've either
Missed it.
or scrambled at the last minute to try to apply for it.
yeah.
Yeah.
Should we add a Q1 item then for that? Just to start talking about?
Yeah, just-
Submitting.
we can just come up with what we want
Yeah.
as
Yeah.
early as we want to.
Okay. Actually, would you mind adding
Yeah.
that? I can't quite.
That's fine.
Thanks.
I'm gonna add it to item 12 that is already about grants.
Excellent.
I'm just gonna-
Okay, so we can just take it from the top and go through each of these. So ongoing, we have promoting residential and commercial energy audits and rebates, promoting the use of Boulder County Household Hazardous Waste Facility, and anyone just feel free to stop me anytime if we want to have discussions on any of these. Promoting the town's sustainability goals and advising the board on adopting and developing more specific and ambitious goals going forward, along with specific metrics, and the scorecard will presumably help a lot with that. Recycling education for residents and businesses, evaluating recommended improvements to and promoting the use of the town's recycling and organics programs, updating our website on environmental programs and education, promoting and providing education around water conservation and xeriscaping, promoting education and recommend infrastructure improvements regarding bikes, electric vehicles, and other alternative transportation, maintaining sustainability scorecard and collect other data as needed, coordinating the town's ongoing participation in the Partners in Energy program, and liaising with the other town committees on shared priorities. Anyone have any questions or comments on the ongoing bullets? Okay, jump to Q1. So using the sustainability scorecard, recommending a set of more specific town sustainability goals, recommending changes to the waste contract to promote new organics options for residents. That's something we've gotten a lot of feedback on, is wanting more opportunities for composting. Requesting Resource Central to host a water-wise seminar in Superior, which we just talked about.
I was going to suggest we add something to one.
Oh, sure.
And so you can, sustainability scorecard and the work on the PID plan.
Oh, yeah. Be great. Cool, thanks. Identifying an opportunity to host Energy Smart event in Superior, which again we just talked about, so I think Arbor Day would be a great fit for that. Coordinating participation in the Garden in a Box program, which we just talked about. Investigate options for increasing electric vehicle charging infrastructure in Superior. Investigate and advise the board on drought mitigation strategies, including reducing the amount of maintained grassy areas. Excuse me. Investigating current town sprinkler controls to make sure they're all well optimized. Reviewing the municipal code related to sustainability and providing input to the town staff and board. Promote and circulate the Partners in Energy survey to town residents. Review yard waste facility contractor requirements and provide input to the town staff and board. And review Front Range Waste Diversion grant solicitation when released by the Colorado DPHE and discuss application for the Boulder County Zero Waste Grant. Any additional suggested changes or comments on Q1 items? Okay. Q2, we have promoting the Superior Green Business Recognition Program, indoor and outdoor residential water audits, promoting the smart irrigation controllers and town water rebates, the Garden in a Box program, coordinate publicizing a promotion and reminder for landscape cleanup related to the yard waste facility, plan and event giveaway items, and we've talked about compostable bags as one option. Share the sustainability scorecard with Boulder County and neighboring communities. And then hosting town events. So that's the Household Hazardous Waste and Hard to Recycle event, the Spring Shred It and event with Guardian Storage, the Sustainability Corner at Arbor Day event, so I guess we have that already, and CRC workshops.
It's actually now Resource Central.
Ah, good call, thank you. And then we'll need to develop our 2021 budget recommendations. So looking at compost options, continuing the dog park compost program, curbside organics pickup, special event in the fall, looking at potentially staffing resources for the town, grant-related budgetary requests, requests potentially related to EV infrastructure, and providing zero waste services at town events. Any questions or comments on Q2 items? Okay. Q3, we have researching commercial recycling opportunities, supporting the Girl Scouts Fall Leaf Collection Program, based on the sustainability scorecard data, examining gaps and prioritizing actions for 2021, having an America Recycles Day event, investigating ways to promote alternative transportation and potentially work with other advisory committees to make it easier to use. Invite EcoCycle to present on needs and opportunities, and applying for the Zero Waste Grant. Any comments on Q3? Okay. And then for Q4, we have continued recycling education programs in schools, initiating Arbor Day invitations for Sustainability Corner at the 2021 event. The Fall Shredded event with Guardian Storage, scheduling and promoting that, participating in the holiday event, and advising the board about creating an ordinance around waste management. Any questions or comments about Q4? And again, we've intentionally structured it so that the bulk of the goals are earlier in the year, so that as things roll over, we'll have plenty of capacity to handle everything, ideally. All right, well, are we ready to vote on the work plan? Hearing no comments?
I was going to say, I'd like to move we adopt the work plan.
So, I'll second that. All in favor? All right, passes unanimous. Thanks, everyone. That was easy. So next up, we have the Excel Energy Partners and Energy Program. And Lisa, do you want to provide an update on that?
Let me just
I can
do
too.
the next one, just so I get it handed out, so the.
Sure.
So, and I do have all the files that you sent me earlier, they're up for on the screen too.
Just the presentation, probably.
Okay, so
Well,
if
that's-
you just pull up,
Is
So
that
this is the.
Chrome or
what we handed in
Adobe?
is the draft, I haven't gotten comments back on, but for the Boulder County one, so I did 6C first, just. And the last page has the financials on it and that sort of thing as well. We haven't heard back from Boulder County, but we did find out that the, probably the best number for you to use for the PRR is 25%. And that's in figure 1. That's the HOA's percent of recyclables of the trash. Eligible recyclables of the trash. So, but if we want to do, yeah. Anyway.
Just to clarify, since you're mentioning it for the scorecard, so the number I have in here was from 2018, and it was 18.4%. So is this a more recent, remind me, is this a more recent?
18.4% might be the percent that, is it out of the memo that I sent?
It was from a past meeting, probably a year ago.
And the
When we
reason
discussed it.
that, it's hard to compare year-round when we have two sorts,
Mhm.
when one of them has yard waste and the other one has like none. So I excluded all the yard waste, and then it comes 25%.
Okay.
And so no matter what time we do the sort, we can still, like, come up with a number that's reasonably.
Okay, I'll update our number to 25%.
So that takes the yard waste out of the street.
Okay.
It seemed to be the only way to compare a June and a December sort. So anyway. So, I'll let you know if we hear any comments back, but I think they're okay with it.
Cool.
And for the purposes of those who weren't around, the study did used a pre and a post waste sort to see how much trash there was in recycling and how much recycling was in the trash, and sent out education materials to try to tell people what was allowed and what wasn't allowed and all that. The results we got after that, it was a post sort and a post survey, and people said they understood more and all that jazz in the survey, but we found out that we were able to get people to recycle more of the right stuff, but we didn't get them to clean up the recycling stream as much as we wanted, except they got all the trash, the bags out of it, which is a big plus. So. And it's partly the things went up and down, so, and we didn't have a very big sample, so it's hard to be statistical. That's statistical. But anyway, that was that one. So, we had a meeting with Excel Energy the other day about this new grant, and let's see, the materials that we probably want for that are, here's a handout of the presentation so you can see the whole presentation that they did. I'll pass it down.
so, and I can't remember which one, so it's not that one.
It's this one.
Oh, it's not.
That's notes.
Yeah, it's the.
It says planning work session 1.
This one?
There you go.
There you go, that one. And I think it might be harder to go through it up there than just to say, oh,
That's
we're
okay.
gonna pay for it. I want to get some things handed out first, so, so that's, we went through a presentation, we talked a little bit, the way that the project is scoped is, there's two parts of this project. One is we're gonna do a little, a similar experiment, but working more with energy and a little bit recycling and water. And try to see if we can't get people to improve their sustainability habits, that sort of thing. So we have pre-energy consumption, we'll have during energy consumption, we'll have post-energy consumption for 3 neighborhoods. One neighborhood will just be a control group that we don't touch after we do a pre-survey and we have measurements that they don't know about, and a post-survey. But we have 2 neighborhoods where we're going to be providing education. One will get education, and the other will get education plus door knocking. 3 neighborhoods we tracked, the energy use in those 3 neighborhoods we tracked. There's a pre-survey and a post-survey, so we can get some idea of changes in behaviors, attitudes, acceptance, blah, blah, blah. So that's the plan. We selected 3 neighborhoods, all of which, instead of being original town as we were in the last project, this one's now in 3 neighborhoods in the HOA area. And we got, the Excel gave us some data on how those 3 neighborhoods compare in terms of, energy use. And we found that they are quite reasonably close. They also compared them on a whole bunch of features like things that we had already done to try to pick the neighborhoods in the first place, like, home age and stuff like that. So census type stuff. So we already looked at that, and they agreed that they were well matched. We decided we're probably going to pick the group neighborhood 2 as the control group. Not that it matters a ton, but just it is actually a little bit of a split in the neighborhood. So anyway, and you can see from these data that the energy use and all that Excel is pretty close, and on a per household per premise per household basis. So we're feeling pretty comfortable about that. But one of the things that we really need to do is look at the pre-survey, and so here's the postcard that we're planning. Please feel free to get back to me with any edits on that. And then here's the survey, the draft survey that we have in mind. There's one question missing that I think it would be nice to get a little bit of feedback on. We want to have some kind of informational metric that lets us see how people have changed beyond filter behaviors. And I'm thinking of something like, we've given them a bunch of recycling and energy type behaviors in there, energy in particular, and we want to say something like, in the pre-survey, would you be willing to adopt some of these behaviors enough to cause a reduction of 1% in the energy use in your home or in the neighborhood, 1.5%, more than 1.5%, or no. Something like that. And then the change in that will be something that will be one indicator of our progress, I think. And we do that same question in the post-survey, but then in the post-survey we would also ask which of these behaviors did you actually adopt and which of them are due to the program. So if you get a chance to look at the survey and have some edits, I would much appreciate it. Excel is, of course, most interested in the energy portions of it, but we're a sustainability group, so we added things that we think are important in that as well. Like I said, there are 2 parts to the project. One is this test to see how can we best craft materials so that we can go town-wide with it after we figure out what really works well. And the other part of it is developing an energy plan. And that energy plan is not just, is looking at a variety of things that we're interested in, but I suspect ours will be more like not just a straight energy plan as these examples from other communities, but will be a sustainability plan where there would be a pretty robust energy component to it. These are just executive summaries from some of the other communities in Excel's territory that have participated in this PID program, Partners in Energy. And you'll see Louisville adopted a goal that was 1% annually, looking for an 11-year program where they'd be up to 11% over time. Another one picked something like 1.6%, and there are others as well. One of the things I'm interested in seeing is whether you guys think that, I 1.5, 2, how robust, how aggressive do we want to get? And we have another chance to review that, but because we're going to be doing some focus groups as well, and we won't be sending the education materials out until next month. But it looked like the other communities, based on their analyses, picked in the 1 to 2% range. And when you look at the kinds of behavioral programs that are offered by O-Power, or by the utilities, like the ones offered by O-Power, that are primarily education, tips, that sort of stuff, 1.5% is pretty much the net savings that those programs deliver. So it's, since we're, and I think Excel is interested in in those kinds of tips, but they're also interested in making sure that people understand some of their programs that are available as well. And so maybe we could be more aggressive if we thought we were going to be able to shuttle people into the program, but the question is how fast would that happen? How, you know, the tracking on that and all that. So I'm not sure. I'm really interested in discussion and feedback on that topic. What should our goal be on energy? We can have goals on other sustainability things that, you know, as well, and that's great from my point of view, and I'd be happy to include any of those. But all I had to go on was kind of what these other communities did, what O-Powers, you know, led to, and you know, you'd love to be stretched, but you also don't want to like just set yourself up for disappointment either. So I'm flexible on that, but I just had to put a plug number in, so that I think I put 1.4% or something like that. Let's see. So that's that material. So it'd be great to have any comments back on the survey and any comments back on the postcard if you have them. And the survey and the postcard are probably going to be going out in the next, we might be stamping over the weekend. So,
so the next day.
By Monday, I'd say, we'd need the survey comments back.
Okay.
Lisa, how many households are the postcards?
It's going to go to about 1,000 households. It's around 350, 380 in each of 3 neighborhoods. Thanks. One of the other things that we're doing as part of the background research is, you know, you want to make sure that what you do for your education materials and all that is targeted, and it's very local, and it's very resonating with your local populace. A survey will give us some information on that, but what we're also planning is focus groups with members from the 2 test neighborhoods. And so here's the draft of the focus group guide that we have in mind. We would be expecting to do those probably not next week, but the week following that, before, it can't be the week of the 28th, so the week before the 28th is what we're thinking. Happy to have folks attend or whatever, and we're hoping that we can get a room here at Town Hall for that. And what we did was we put the little invitation to volunteer for the focus group on the postcard, because I just want to try to minimize work, you know. So that's that plan. We want to have maybe 8 people attend. If you have more than 10, it starts to become hard to discuss with anybody in much detail. And the point is to drill down, not to just get, oh, yes, you know, 5 people said yes, 6 people said no, whatever. So in order to get that, you probably want to have maybe 11 people say they'll come, and then maybe 8 will come. So that's what we've generally found. So that's
it'll be for a 2-hour.
Really about an hour and a quarter is our plan, but we'll tell them. I think I said a 2-hour just to be on the. We can change that.
So
but
that would be the week of the 21st.
That's the thinking, yes.
If you can just send the dates and times, we can see if anybody else is interested in sitting in.
Yes, so that's that plan, and okay. And yeah, the focus group guide is the draft focus group guide is there. Then one of the, just as a little update on what we've, just so you know what we've been thinking and all that, and the whole choice of neighborhoods and all that is listed in this email. And then one of the things is that I had a misunderstanding of this project a little bit at the beginning. I thought it was a grant. I'm not so sure it is. It's more of a partnership. And so it's not free to do all this stuff, you know, that, and so I just am sending that out, and I'm sending it to the utility as well, and just see what they think about it. We tried to figure out what it would cost for the out-of-pocket just expenses for materials and for incentives for surveys that you kind of need to get people to fill them out and all that sort of thing, is probably going to be almost $6,000 out of pocket. Now I funded a bunch of the Boulder grant, or else I might be more willing to, you know, just do it. But I'm hoping that they might be willing to kick some in. I really did think it was a grant.
And my understanding with PIU is that they would help with like materials.
Yes. And that's a big chunk of it.
Yeah.
There's survey expenditures as well, you know, for like incentives, because nobody fills out a survey for free anymore. Or they're a SAP, right? You know, they think they're a SAP. But anyway, so they did, and on the back of the email, the last thing they wrote me was, I had only given them the costs at that point for the survey, which is right there, and that was gonna be about a little over $2,000, and they said, they might be willing to reimburse 50% of the cost up to $1,500. Well, that's not terrible, but it's gonna be more than that when you do the whole thing. So, anyway, I'll keep you posted on that and see what they're willing to possibly fork over. And I guess one way is we say, well, if you aren't willing to do it, then, we're not gonna keep, having you provide input on this thing because if you're not paying, whatever. So, anyway, that's the grant. And if you want to find more about what the steps are for the project, they're behind the dollars thing, so you see what's happening on that side of the project. The presentation that I handed out, that gives you an idea of how much energy use we have in the community, but it doesn't really compare us to other communities. We've asked them for some information on other communities so that we can have a much better idea of how much gap there is between us, and we particularly asked for Louisville because, if there's any town that has a bunch of households that look a lot like our households, it's pretty much Louisville.
And for reference, here's a map with all the other communities locally partnering or involved in the program.
Yeah. So there are a lot in our neighborhood, basically, our county neighborhood or our near county neighborhood. And I thought that was, and so we've asked both for information about how much did they consume either before or after. And also I'm interested in whether whether they are able to maintain that over time or not, or whether they've tracked and whether, do they get a big surge and it just stops or whatever, because that all matters in setting our goal too. Are we gonna set it out for, just the next period and then just like go home? Or are we gonna, really plan to try to stretch and keep it up? So I was really interested in knowing whether there was persistence for the behavior change as well. So there are a few questions we asked them in that email that I gave you, and the answer they gave us to the persistence one was one that was pretty, you didn't even have to be in the field to write that one, so that wasn't really a very informed answer. But anyway, so that's that. I don't know, Essie, do you think we want to go through this presentation or a few of the highlighted pages, like how much people consume for energy or not, or what are you thinking?
Sure, I'd be happy to go through some of the general, some of the highlights of the presentation and see if we have it. This is sort of a Gantt chart showing their typical expected time frame for the Partners in Energy program. And I think we can share these with everyone if they haven't already been. I can't remember if they've been sent out to the ACES group. Again, communities that Excel's worked with, they work with a lot of similar communities in the area. There's an online portal which has a lot of great information, so I think if anyone on ACES is interested in checking that out, there's information on other local communities, what their goals have been, sort of the approaches they've taken, various other just informational materials. So feel free to reach out to Lisa or myself, and we can, I believe, get you access to that portal. Let's see, so yeah, as everyone knows, we're mostly residential as a community. This is just looking at our energy costs. I'm going to skim through these because all the numbers are in the printout materials that Lisa shared.
And the one difficulty with what they were providing us is they kept giving us town-wide stuff instead of by household. It was kind of annoying because, it's not very helpful. So anyway, we had to keep pushing to get, what is it by household? Yeah.
Mm-hmm. So you can see year over year, our total townwide energy consumption is increasing slightly, but it's largely fairly stable, especially the commercial sector. That presumably will change a fair amount as more of the developments keep getting built and occupied.
And I think that's where the per household, is it that it's trending up at the same rate that our residency is trending up?
Exactly.
So
Right, and it's hard to know.
Not very helpful.
It's sort of, yeah.
Develop new houses, guess what?
Your energy consumption will go up.
That's pretty stupid. Yeah, anyway, sorry.
This is looking at the monthly energy consumption of each of the different neighborhood areas that we're considering. So that's what the 3 different colors are. You can see energy is really on a BTU basis largely dominated by heating, and so it spikes in the winter and is a little bit lower in the summer, even when people are running their ACs. And there's all that stuff. This one I actually thought was really interesting. So this is looking at the rate of participation in Excel's rebate programs, which has actually been declining year over year. And part of that just because if you have gone in and participated in their programs and you got a new air conditioner and furnace, then you don't need to participate again, at least not in that program. But I did think this was a really interesting sort of fairly dramatic trend for the decline in participation over the last couple of years. And so I think that points to opportunities for ACES as a committee to provide more educational materials around the fact that Excel has all these rebates for energy efficient home improvements.
And so this includes the demand side management. That's like the smart thermostat, replacing your heater. Is that their like variable pricing pilots and their wind energy buying?
This is just efficiency, and I think they have demand response in as well, but pretty much just efficiency by and large. So it doesn't count like the wind source or renewable connect or any of the like renewable pricing stuff.
Mostly rebates and audits.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It would be interesting to see just like you said, if you participated one year, you don't count in the next year, but it'd be interesting to see like total number of households in Superior that have participated at any point.
Yeah.
Like seeing that number.
We have that data through the community energy report that they put out, which is where the scorecard data came from. So we're able to go look at it if we'd like to on our own.
And I think particularly with the small commercial industrial participation, that could be because we don't have very many businesses, and so if they participated, then we've kind of maxed it out. But being aware of that, especially as new businesses go in, and making sure we're promoting that could be a great thing for ACES to do. And this is also looking at total energy savings per year. And so, even though there's less participation, particularly last year, there's a big chunk in the amount of savings per participant. And so the trend in energy savings through Excel's incentive programs is a little bit more fluctuating year over year compared to the downward trend, just looking at straight participation, which is sort of interesting.
And it was all commercial.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's the big takeaway from that one.
Yeah.
Do you think it's the developer? If it's a developer.
Yeah, I don't know. Let's see. So these are some of the top incentive programs that Excel runs that have the most participation in 2018. So mostly around residential heating equipment, air conditioners, and then refrigerator and freezer recycling. And on the commercial side, it's more about lighting and some motors. But you can see like the number of participants is obviously much smaller on the commercial side than residential. This again providing similar information for the different neighborhoods that we identified for the project. So again, looking at wind source, to your question earlier. And they do also offer other renewable programs too. So this is, but I think the sample sizes were too small to be included. So they really just focused on wind source for this one. And then this is sort of a short overview of the majority of their residential offerings. At the moment, you can also go onto our website and check it out there. So I'm not going to go through all those. One of the things that they offered was to have conservation kits that we're able to pass out through the Partners Energy Program. Same here, actually. So they're giving us 2 full pallets, so 400 kits. And each of those kits has all this stuff. So a bunch of LEDs, a cell phone charger, and a backpack. And so we'll figure out some ways of distributing those, but we have to make sure they're pretty much all distributed by June. So I think Arbor Day would be fantastic.
Well, and I don't know about that, because I also thought that this would be one of the ways we get people to take.
Oh, that's right.
That I was really looking at it for the experiment.
Yeah.
Good point. Yeah, so let's use it for the experiment, and if we have leftovers, we'll just give them away to anyone who wants one. This is our vision statement.
Oh, yeah.
I don't know that we really need to go through these. These are sort of
That's
the,
a little premature, probably.
yeah. This is sort of their general approach to structuring the program, which we're figuring out. So, yeah, I think that's pretty much it. Any other questions or comments about Partners Energy generally or specifically?
Yes. Okay. So the outcomes that we want through this whole thing, as I heard, are primarily more energy efficiency or more efficient use of energy.
That's what the outcome Excel is after. I think we're
Okay.
after a plan that goes beyond that and goes to recycling and other goals. It won't be just an energy plan, it'll be a sustainability plan.
Oh, okay, but within the energy portion of our sustainability plan, or whatever this includes, I heard efficiency. I guess and I also heard actually increased participation in Excel programs. So those are the two things.
I took that away from our
Yeah.
meeting, which I hadn't really thought about before, that it would be quite that straightforward, but sure.
I think that's certainly
I know
one
that's
of the
what
things
they
Excel's
want.
hoping to
Yeah,
get
I
out
know
of
they
it.
want to get
Yeah.
more people to participate.
Mhm.
Cool. Okay. Well, the one additional piece that I would encourage us to consider, since we're going to all this effort to communicate with people about their utilities and their energy usage, would be basically something that's greenhouse gas focused in the long term, and which could also include educating people about the choice between electric appliances and gas appliances in their home for
Yeah.
heating and water heating and cooking, and the fact that anyway, it's something where public general awareness is very low that they could become a zero emission household with all electric appliances. Everyone kind of views gas as a default option or as a clean option. And so there's a clear education and informational opportunity for us to put out into the community to encourage people to look at
And that-
electric
yeah.
heating, electric water heating, et cetera.
And I think we should test those things in this experiment, so.
Yeah, great. So I'd encourage us to include those, even though I'm aware that those are not explicitly in Excel's goals.
Doesn't
Yeah,
matter.
we
Excel,
actually asked
it
them
will
about
actually
that.
become, Excel as a corporation is actually a little uncomfortable with that.
Yes, they are.
However, in pursuit of overall sustainability goals, I think we need to include
But
it.
if fuel switching makes sense, fuel switching makes sense for us, yeah.
Well, I think a lot of people also aren't aware of the fact that Excel adopted goals to be carbon neutral by 2050 as well. So,
Right, a goal which
that's
applies to the electricity side of its business, but not to the gas side of its
Right,
business.
exactly.
So if we're looking at the long-term
But that's why it ties in with the electrification.
opportunity to be
piece, so.
truly carbon neutral, then it would have to require switching people from
Right.
gas to electric.
Mhm.
So just I don't know, as you're developing the educational materials, I'd be happy to contribute
Absolutely. Yeah,
in
no,
that-
it's going to go to the group.
in that line of thinking.
Yeah. Lisa, the only thing I noticed for the postcards is
Yes.
that it'd be helpful to spell out ACES rather than just using the acronym, because a lot of people don't know where our committee is. So just saying the Superiors Advisory Committee for
Yeah,
Environmental
it's in the superior,
Sustainability.
it's in the survey. It may not, I'm not sure we had the space on the postcards, but I will
Yeah.
mention to Dana and see if she can do that.
That sounds good. That'd be great. Thanks. Any other discussion for these items?
Thank you, Essie and Lisa, for the time and effort you're putting in on this.
Mostly Lisa, so thank you.
Okay.
All right,
They do.
so.
They do pack the house.
Mhm.
You know, we show up with one or two people, they have like 6.
Yes, interesting.
What the heck? How can they spend that much time? You know, it's really kind of, yeah, it makes me feel bad that they bring that many people on every phone call.
Hopefully the alternative is municipalization then.
Yeah.
Sorry, just a cynical comment. Okay, so we talked about the waste sort grant. I'm not sure if there's anything else you want to.
Just to hand it out. No.
Yeah. So next up is the town of HOA waste contracts.
Yes.
And Karen, I think you shared some information about those.
I emailed everyone the link to the last board meeting packet when that was decided back in 2015. So you should have all of that.
Okay. Not like
the last meeting. I got scared there.
No. So this whole process will happen throughout this entire year. So if you'll notice that meeting where it was finalized, where the agreement was finalized, was in December of 2015. So it'll be this entire year. I did have a extensive conversation with Martin the other day about this whole process, just so I could wrap my brain around it. And just so he knew that we were starting to work on it, and he thinks that's fantastic that you're starting to gather ideas, find out what other communities are doing for their agreements. He will come to our meeting on March 12th to discuss the questionnaire, the questionnaire that goes out to the current customers. And ACES will have an opportunity to develop and define those questions that will be asked. And we will be then working on those questions during March, April, and May. And then Martin will come back with the finalized results once that is all set out and sent out to the customers, and then he'll come back with those results to us.
And one of the things that we got extremely involved in last time, and I hope we will again, is we really helped craft the RFP.
Yeah, so we can, yes, he didn't mention that
Because we asked for options of with and without yard waste service and all that sort of stuff, and, weekly versus every other week. And so I really, really want to make sure we do that. We get that
so as far as the scope of services goes, like what we're asking, yes. And so he did say we can make those recommendations, but it's ultimately the town board's decision.
Really?
Yes.
I'm just kidding.
I know. That's why I said yes so fast. So I just want to remind you that we can make all kinds of, the committee can make all kinds of suggestions for that scope, but it will be the town board that makes the final decision on what the scope is.
But I presume they'll have an evaluation process for the bids that come in.
Yes.
And it would be really great if we could have a representative on that committee.
I mean, I can definitely ask Martin that. I don't know what the answer to that will be, but I can definitely ask him. If you go back to that 2015 packet, you'll see the bid process, how they scored. I mean, it's all in there.
Yeah.
I think that'd be great too, if we come up with recommendations, then we can plan on being at the board meeting around that time. To make sure we can share
Any
it all.
of them that it comes up.
Yeah.
Because believe me,
Along
others will.
Yeah. All along the way. I started looking just in general at neighboring communities and mentioned to RCAB, the Boulder County Committee, that we are looking at this year. They're excited about that prospect as well. Both Louisville and Lafayette have adopted the pay-as-you-throw with, in Louisville, I think, or in Lafayette, you can choose like your sizes of containers for both trash and recycle and compost. And that would be the direction that Boulder County would push us in as well, is having a pay-as-you-throw. I know one of the challenges we've talked about in the past is the difference between the HOA and the town contracts. And so I think the last time we discussed this, it was when we finalize our recommendations for the town, we would also ask that the town board consider municipal code that would encourage HOAs to adopt similar requirements for their waste contractors. But both Lafayette and Louisville are now using Republic Services as their provider.
And we did try to get something like that passed in the past. I would love to see us try that again. And Louisville, Longmont, Lafayette, Boulder, and other communities within the county, and many more within the state, have pay-as-you-throw. We're massively behind, and there are many communities that get pay-as-you-throw through ordinance, and they say anyone providing service in the county, the city, whatever limits that you have authority over, must provide it using pay-as-you-throw. It's not saying what the rates are. It's not saying anything about it. It just says if you do it, the rate differentials have to be X percentage for double the service, and it's not meddling in business that much. And the design, there's best practices language for that ordinance as well, and you usually say, and you have to have recycling. You have to provide recycling in at least this size of container, And the city manager maintains a list of the materials that must be included in that recycling program that lets him update it more frequently than whatever the, would be in municipal code is. So there are things like that that are part of best practices. It would be lovely to do that.
Yeah, and RCAP would be willing to have a letter from Boulder County Commissioners and any other support that we feel like our committee needs to ensure that there is weight behind our recommendations, since this is only every 5 years that we get this chance to do this, and that hopefully we can do it right.
Just to clarify, I heard you, Kaylin, say a change to municipal code that would encourage
Or-
the HOA to do it, and then I heard, Lisa say, requirement. So I'm excited about the more aggressive
Yes.
prospect
lots
there,
of-
and would love to, but I also agree that it's, it would be a significant proposal, so we'd want to rally the, supporting materials, supporting voices we would need to make a strong case for that.
You won't see many people in Louisville using a 90-gallon trash can. I'll just tell you that right now.
Nope.
Yeah.
It's embarrassing.
Yeah. That's, I was looking and it's like in Louisville, Lafayette, and Boulder, you choose 32, 96, and in Superior and Rock Creek, it's a default of 296 gallon. It's like, really?
And I would, based off comments that I've heard from my fellow board members over the past year, as much benchmarking as you can do and really paint this picture of where we need to go, the better this conversation will go. I think without that additional support, it's a lot easier to kind of dismiss it of maybe this isn't necessary, things have been working, status quo is fine. Let's paint the picture that no, we are a laggard and that we can really improve here.
We've got all the data from this county as well as around the state, so we can put that together pretty fast.
And I know Louisville's been doing that for at least 5 years that I know of, because when we first moved here, we lived in Louisville. So I don't, maybe it's been even longer. I don't know. But so, I mean, the fact that we still haven't moved in this direction is pretty shocking.
Yeah.
For our town.
It was in the RFP last time, but it wasn't accepted.
Do you happen to know if there might be like challenges with municipal code change? I know that there was when we proposed municipal code changes around EV infrastructure, but I don't know if it's a similar issue with something like this.
So I don't know the exact answer for this scenario. I know that the whole home rule versus statutory municipality plays a role in this sort of thing. Based off prior conversations with our town attorney, I've got to assume that it's unlikely we'd be able to do this since we're statutory or make any changes like that. However, at our
municipal code change
To make.
We already licensed the haulers. We can do that.
well, this would be for the code change to force the HOA to adopt certain rules.
right, and we haven't talked about this specifically, so I could be wrong. Maybe our attorney would say no, since you are a statutory, this is fine. But
I think we can.
with the rules with electric vehicle infrastructure, different rules, there's probably been 4 or 5 things over the past year that I thought were easy slam dunks we could do, and the answers come back that no, since we're not home rule, we don't have that capability. At our not our first meeting, so not on Monday, but our second meeting in January on the 27th. The second half of that meeting is our retreat. And one of the things is going to be discussing home rule. And it gets brought up every year, but every year I think it's been getting closer and closer to the board saying yes. Just my informal pulse of the board, I think it's actually going to have more support than less this time around. So maybe in the next 1 or 2 years, this is something we can discuss, but I know seeing how limited we are, it's certainly shifted my views on the whole home rule versus statutory in different things we'd like to accomplish.
Is Golden home rule?
I don't know the answer
'Cause they
to
did
that
it.
question.
They passed it, a requirement, so.
Yeah.
I think a number of communities in the area are.
Yeah, the majority in Boulder County are. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know about Golden, but
Yeah.
Well, if we think we may want to propose something like this, is there a way in advance for us to just get feedback from the town attorney on this
If
particular
it's even possible.
issue, so we understand the legal basis?
Either that or we can talk to the municipal league.
And Golden is home rule. I just looked it up.
Is it?
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
So it'd be possible to get a general sense from the town attorney as to whether this is even something worth pursuing at the moment, or I don't know what the process would be like for that.
Honestly, I think the preferred path of the board would probably be to see if there's any interest from the board in going down this path first.
Okay.
Hearing some of the objections to earlier initiatives, I've got to think the rest of the board would rather have that conversation rather than having the attorney spend time and money doing research. So maybe that's something that we can bring up at a presentation in front of the board at a future meeting.
Sounds good. Thanks.
I know about the CML, I'll call him.
All right, any other comments on the waste contracts? All right, so finally, goat grazing. Do we
On a lighter
That one
note.
came out of left field, didn't it?
That'd be nice note to end on. Do we have the materials up on the computer? Or
Let me see.
shoot it over?
Yeah, I know, I saw that and I was like,
Is it over here? No, all right.
I can.
I have it in the email that you had sent. So if you want me to just kind of like summarize it.
Give the highlights.
So the town is proposing a pilot program to use goat grazing for weed mitigation in open space areas. So they're discussing it Monday night at the town hall meeting. If anybody wants to make any comments, it would be in Rock Creek South on the north end of Castle Park, near the elementary school. They're estimating it will take 42 days for the goats to work through the 7-acre property. They use small portable corrals, and they use a llama to help guard the goats.
That's amazing.
42 days.
Yes, yes. So when I saw this in the newsletter, I said, Essie, we should probably add this to the agenda. If nothing else, so we can discuss goats on public record. So I did a little bit of looking into goat grazing programs, and they are actually fairly common in this area. There's several different contractors that provide this service. And Boulder's used them. They've used them at Stanley Lake. They've used them in Thornton, Denver, to manage weeds and overgrowth. So I think it's a really good thing that it seems like the town is, we've talked in the past about using less weed control and how we can be more maintaining our landscape without as much human and chemical intervention. So it seems like a great option. I think it would maybe be nice for the committee to just like have a statement of support to the town for the program. The two things that I think are important as I've looked more at goat grazing are it's not like a one-time deal, that if they're going to use goat grazing programs in the town, it has to be like a cyclical thing. And so looking at the cost per acre for using these programs on weed mitigation should be something that we're thinking about. And then just kind of like the cycles of when they're going to do it. And then one thing I saw that is helpful for some communities is you can host like a Meet the Goats Day, so that the people of the town can understand why we have goats grazing. So we might suggest that the town, if they aren't planning that.
That's already in the works.
Okay. Have they selected the contractor?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I believe they have one that they're working with, and I want to say, from what I've heard, that it is. I can double check to make sure, but it's the same one that Boulder's using.
Okay.
The same contractor that Boulder's using. And they will do an actual meet and greet with the llama that is the herder. And the llama has a name, but right now it's escaping me. But they do a big meet and greet with the llama, and then the goats are there as well before the program starts.
Okay.
Excellent.
If it's the same company that Boulder used, they're called Mutton Mowers.
And it is Vinny the guard llama.
Vinny the guard llama.
That's awesome.
Okay.
And I actually did see when Boulder used the go grazing program around the South Boulder Rec Center, it was pretty cool. They basically just erected some temporary fencing to keep the goats in the same general area. And then they also have great information for kids and people in the area about, like, you know, why there are goats munching on weeds and the environmental benefits and all those types of things. So I thought it was a really cool sort of positive initiative from what I saw.
And with the town did do a door hanger that the Parks Department went and put door to door on all the houses surrounding the area of where it's going to happen. So they all got a citizen notice that it will be discussed at the board meeting on Monday.
So we could have if the committee is interested, we have a motion for general support to try out the pilot. And then I think that's,
So moved.
Cool.
Okay. I second.
all right, all in favor?
Just make sure that's captured in the notes, and then
Yep.
Ken can take that to the board meeting as well.
Excellent. All right, well, I believe that's it. So thank you everyone so much, and we can adjourn for the night.
Everybody can get it home in time for the big Jeopardy championship, right?
There you go.
Oh.
Have you been watching that?
Uh-uh.
Oh, yeah. It's 1-to-1, Ken Jennings and
You guys are crazy.
and the Brad guy who's won the most money overall, he's sad, also ran. It's like embarrassing. He didn't even get to play Final Jeopardy yesterday, so.